Hello friends, TECHMANPAT here. Today we're checking out this, the Aiper Scuba S1, a medium-sized pool cleaning robot that I think is doing a bang-up job, especially for a large pool like this. Some of the specs include 150 runtime minutes, which is plenty for about 150 square meter pool, which is awesome. It's got a pretty large basket compared to its size, but one thing that makes this unique from other robots I've seen is the feet right here. It's able to climb walls and stairs, which makes it even better at cleaning your pool. So let's get started with this review of the Scuba S1. Big thanks to Aiper for sending this robot for review. Now, Aiper has been winning some CES awards since, well, a couple of years now. The last robot we reviewed had 4 wheels and it was quite large and bulky. The problem I found with that one is pulling it out was a bit of a hassle, even with the included hook. But this one is much lighter and seems to do a pretty darn good job at picking up sand and leaves. Now, as you can notice, there is a lot of bush around this pool, which makes it quite a pain to clean it up all the time. Now, adding to the fact that the leaves are quite large, this seems to be able to pick up most of them, but I have noticed that there are still some large leaves kicking around. We'll talk about the navigation in a second. Now, with the basket, it's pretty darn good. Make sure not to damage the material around the sides. It's very good at picking up sand, which is probably the most important part, especially because of all the sand. The sand getting into the pump and the filter is the worst thing. We can deal with leaves. There's always a big giant filter in between that can take the leaves out, but the sand is the most painful. At the front of the robot, we've got 2 counter-rotating rubber grommet little sponge things. These are able to clean the walls really well. You can see the scum coming off the edges, and of course the floor, it kicks up enough dust to then suck it in to the vacuum-like section at the bottom. It's very rubbery and I think it's pretty darn good, especially for its size. Now, coming back to these caterpillar treads, they are really powerful, and because it's not just 4 wheels that are touching the ground, it's a whole flat section. This thing can turn and grip around a lot of different sections, especially climbing stairs. And there's a giant section where you first step in, that's almost a little podium before you go into the deep end. This is able to climb on that, clean it, and then climb a couple of more stairs. I don't think, and from what I've tested with ones that have just wheels, it doesn't climb as well because it hits the plastic in between here. But with these caterpillar treads, it touches there and it still has grip as it climbs those stairs. Fantastic. Really recommend it just for that if you've got lots of stairs. Now, as is with robots, there is a battery here, and the fear is, well, what happens if there's water in it? Well, it seems to be sealed really well. The plug is at the back with a rubber grommet that you need to cover before you put it in the water. Now, this robot doesn't have any knobs or switches, which is actually really good if you're using salt in your pool to keep it clean. It's only a button, it's digital, and it's fully sealed, which means that if you have salt in your pool and it gets in between everything, it won't gunk up the actual knobs and switches. I found that with some other robots, that seems to be a problem, and that knob to turn it on becomes tougher and tougher over time. So button press is a much better solution to a salt pool. So if you do put salt, and I think a lot of people in Australia do, this is a good solution. So what has the actual cleaning been like? Well, the bucket here is always full whenever it goes in the pool. Now, because there are still large leaves, you sometimes see them floating on the top where this doesn't actually get to, but your internal filter will, and you can pull it out of there. What it does really well is clean the walls and the bottom of the pool from both the leaves, the sand, and any other gunk that you find. Because of its 150 runtime minute and quick charge, I think you can throw it in quite a few times, especially at least once or twice a day. Definitely possible. And if you do, that's probably the most beneficial. Now, it is a smaller robot, so it takes a little bit longer. So let's talk about navigation. It first starts off by doing the walls, depending on the settings you set here. Then it goes to the floor. It's smart in a roundabout way. It sort of starts from one end and goes to the other. So when you drop this into the water, you want to start from either end of your pool, depending on obviously the shape. But once it starts there, it'll go around all the sides and then do the bottom, generally speaking, depending on the sides. Now, as I watched it go through, it seems dumb, but I didn't notice that it went back to a section that it had already done. It really went to only new sections the whole time. So it followed a snake-like fashion through the bottom of the pool, which is pretty impressive, especially the fact that there's water and how do you navigate underwater. So it's got some sort of sensors to let it figure out where it's going and where it is. At the end, it always seems to end up somewhere near the stairs. I'm not sure if it figures out that that's the lowest point in the pool to be pulled out. The little hook area here is very good, and like I said, the robot is much lighter than the previous model we reviewed on this channel. So I highly recommend you getting this if you have any issues getting heavy things out of the pool. So lastly, let's talk about price. This robot kicks around between 800 to 1,000 Australian dollars depending on the sale and where you get it from. Most do provide free delivery, and again, it's smaller than the Pro version, but the Pro version has more suction and more power than this one. But this one being more expensive and lighter, I feel like it might be the better choice if it is around the same price. The fact that it can climb stairs is a big plus if you've got stairs in your pool. So friends, thank you very much for watching. I can happily recommend the Aiper. It's been doing really well, and big thanks to Aiper for sending this for review. Make sure to check out the links below where you can buy yours, and I'll catch you all in another one. Bye!